Well, what we're fairly certain of is that, at least in the short term, exposure to sweet taste actually takes away our appetite for sweetness, takes away our desire to consume something more that is sweet. And that's an example of something that's called sensory-specific satiety. In a meal, if we're eating one type of taste or one type of food, we quite quickly lose a relative interest in that food, and we feel full on that food, but actually we may still have a desire for different tasting food. Some people call that a dessert stomach, for example. So in relation to sweetness, if I'm, for example, consuming a sweet drink with my meal, the evidence is I will have less desire for a sweet dessert, or I might eat less of a sweet dessert as a result of that. In terms of longer term exposure, we don't actually have very good evidence one way or another. A recent review has shown that exposing people to an increase in the sweetness of their diet or a decrease in their sweetness in their diet doesn't much change, on average across studies, doesn't much change their desire and preference for sweetness in the longer term. So there is a particular hypothesis, a particular idea that low-calorie sweeteners, because they're unusual, they provide a sweet taste but without the calories that sugar would give, is that causes a disruption of appetite control. The body's looking for calories and those calories are missing. And that work has come primarily from animal studies, or actually entirely from animal studies. So we don't have equivalent human studies. What we are pretty certain of now from actually a failure to replicate those early animal studies, the key results from those, and also from studies on the effects of low-calorie sweeteners on appetite and weight in human participants, is that if there is such an effect, that's outweighed by the benefit of having less energy in a meal with low-calorie sweeteners. So it doesn't outweigh that effect of calorie dilution that low-calorie sweeteners give. So in relation to weight loss, we have pretty good evidence for that. So that when low-calorie sweeteners replace sugar in foods and drinks in our diet, mainly drinks in our diet, because that's where low-calorie sweeteners work best in terms of their functionality, in terms of sweetness, and where they can replace sugar, significant amounts of sugar, then the trials are pretty consistent, or actually very consistent, in showing lower weight and lower energy intake when people are consuming low-calorie sweeteners, when they're randomized to consume low-calorie sweeteners versus sugar. And that can be expected on the basis that low-calorie sweeteners reduce the energy density of the diet. They remove some of the sugar from the diet, and that removal of sugar isn't compensated for, not fully compensated for, by overconsumption of sugar or other calories elsewhere in the diet.